Once upon a time, in a peaceful African village surrounded by rolling hills and tall green trees, lived a couple named Kwame and Adana. The village was filled with laughter, the sounds of children playing, and the chatter of the villagers as they went about their daily tasks. Everyone admired Kwame and Adana because they seemed so perfect together. Kwame was a strong and skilled hunter. He was brave and knew how to track even the fastest animals in the forest. People in the village often spoke of his courage and charm. He could make anyone smile with his jokes and stories. Adana, on the other hand, was a kind and gentle woman who wove beautiful cloths. She had a heart full of love and was always there to help others. Together, they were the envy of the village, their love shining as brightly as the sun in the sky. But despite their happiness, Kwame had a secret. While he was kind and brave, he also had a wandering eye. Sometimes he couldn't resist the temptation to flirt with other women. This made Adana very sad, but she kept hoping that one day Kwame would realize how much he was hurting her and return to her with all his heart. Kwame had two best friends, Kwasi and Kofi, who were always by his side. Kwasi was wise and thoughtful, like an old tree that had seen many seasons. He always gave Kwame good advice. One afternoon, as Kwame sat under the shade of a towering baobab tree, thinking about his life, Kwasi came to sit beside him. Kwame listened, his heart heavy.
Kwame, my friend, you have a wonderful wife in Adana. She loves you with all her heart, but you are hurting her by chasing after other women. True love is a precious gift, and you are throwing it away. You must apologize to her and promise to be faithful. If you don't, you might lose her forever.
He knew Kwasi was right, but it was hard for him to resist the excitement of Kofi's wild ideas. Kofi, unlike Kwasi, loved adventure and mischief. He was always looking for fun, even if it meant causing a little trouble. Later that evening, when the villagers gathered around the fire to tell stories, Kofi came up to Kwame with a playful grin on his face.
Kwame, why waste your time with just one woman when there are so many others out there? Life is short, my friend. Enjoy it while you can.
Kwame laughed, but deep down, he felt torn. He knew he should listen to Kwasi, but Kofi's words were tempting. He didn't want to miss out on any fun. Weeks passed, and Kwame continued to struggle with his choices. Adana noticed the distance growing between them, and it made her sad. She loved Kwame deeply and wanted nothing more than to see him happy, but she feared that he might never change. One evening, Kwame decided to go for a walk in the forest to clear his mind. As he wandered deeper into the woods, he found himself in a part of the forest he had never seen before. The trees were taller, and the air was filled with the sweet scent of flowers. As he walked, he stumbled upon a hidden grove bathed in the soft light of the moon. It was a magical place, with bamboo trees swaying gently in the breeze. Kwame felt drawn to the grove. As he stepped inside, he noticed the sound of rustling leaves and chirping crickets all around him. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows. A woman with eyes that seemed to glow with a mysterious light. Kwame's heart pounded in his chest. He knew this woman was not ordinary. There was something magical about her, something that made him feel both frightened and hopeful. He realized that he had been living the wrong way and that it was time to make things right. The woman introduced herself as Ama and led Kwame to her home, which was a small, cozy hut hidden deep within the forest. The moment Kwame stepped inside, he was enveloped by the warm glow of lamplight and the delicious smell of food cooking over the fire. Ama, dressed in her flowing indigo robe adorned with gold embroidery, moves gracefully around the small wooden table. The flickering candlelight casts dancing shadows on the walls, adding to the mysterious and intimate ambience.
Kwame, please come and sit. The journey here must have left you weary and hungry.
Standing near the doorway, hesitates. His strong, tall frame casts a long shadow as he looks around the cozy space, his eyes finally settling on Ama. His rich brown skin gleams in the firelight, his leopard skin cloak draped over his powerful shoulders, nods slowly, his voice deep and thoughtful.
I am indeed weary, Amma. Your hospitality is generous.
Amma moves closer to the table, her delicate hands gracefully placing a bowl of steaming stew in front of one of the seats. Her amber eyes gleam with a mixture of kindness and something more enigmatic. Gesturing to the seat.
Then let the food restore your strength. I have prepared this meal with care, just for you.
Kwame was hungry, and the food looked and smelled wonderful. The table was set with plates of roasted yams, grilled fish, and a spicy stew that made Kwame's mouth water. Amma poured palm wine into his glass and invited him to eat. As they ate, Kwame couldn't help but admire Amma. She was graceful and beautiful, and there was something about her that made him feel comfortable and at ease. They talked and laughed, sharing stories about their lives. But even as Kwame enjoyed Amma's company, thoughts of Adana kept creeping into his mind. He knew he shouldn't be here, enjoying a meal with another woman, while Adana waited for him at home.
I'm sorry, Amma. I can't stay here. I need to go back to Adana. She's the one I truly love, and I've hurt her enough.
Amma's smile faded, and her eyes grew cold.
Are you sure about that, Kwame? You've been enjoying yourself here, haven't you? Why not stay a little longer?
Kwame shook his head, his resolve strengthening.
No, I need to make things right. Thank you for the meal, but I have to go.
As Kwame stood to leave, the cozy interior of Amma's hut suddenly disappeared. The warm light vanished, replaced by the cold, dark walls of a damp cave. The food was gone, and the flickering candles had turned into eerie shadows. Kwame realized with horror that Amma's home was not real. It was all an illusion.
Amma, what have you done? Who are you?
Kwame cried out, fear gripping his heart. Amma's form began to change, and she transformed into a ghostly figure, her eyes glowing with a sinister light.
You foolish man, she hissed. I am not a woman, but a spirit of the night. I ensnare those who stray from the path of goodness. You have fallen into my trap, and now you must face the consequences.
Kwame's heart raced as he backed away, stumbling out of the cave. He found himself in a barren wasteland, the once lush forest replaced by a desolate landscape. The sky was dark, and the air was thick with fog. Desperate and frightened, Kwame ran as fast as he could, trying to escape the nightmare he had entered. But no matter how far he ran, the wasteland seemed to stretch on forever. His thoughts turned to Adana, and he cursed himself for his foolishness. How could he have been so blind? But just as Kwame felt all hope slipping away, he remembered the love he had for Adana. It was a love that had survived many challenges, and he knew it was strong enough to guide him home. Holding on to that love, Kwame pressed on, determined to find his way back. As he ran, the darkness began to lift. Slowly, the barren landscape gave way to the familiar sights of his village. The sun started to rise, its rays piercing through the clouds. Kwame's heart swelled with relief as he realized he had made it back. Exhausted and filled with guilt, Kwame made his way through the village to find Adana. She was sitting under the shade of the baobab tree, her eyes filled with sadness.
Adana, I've been a fool. I let myself be tempted by things that didn't matter, and I hurt you because of it. I'm so sorry.
Adana looked up at Kwame, her eyes brimming with tears. Adana said softly,
Kwame, I've been hurt, but I still love you. True love is about forgiving each other and learning from our mistakes. It won't be easy, but if you promise to be faithful, I'm willing to try and move forward together.
Kwame held her into his hands.
I promise, Adana. I will never stray again. I've learned that the only place I belong is with you.
She could see the regret in his eyes, and though her heart ached, she knew that he was truly sorry. From that day on, Kwame kept his promise. He stayed true to Adana, and their love grew stronger with each passing day. The villagers noticed the change in Kwame and admired him even more for the man he had become. As they walked hand in hand through the village, Kwame knew that he had been given a second chance. He had almost lost everything, but he had found his way back to what truly mattered. Under the shade of the baobab tree, where their story had begun, Kwame and Adana sat together, grateful for the love that had survived the storm. They knew that life would bring more challenges.
Supporting us by like, subscribe, comment and share. What is your thought about the aspect of the story? Leave it below the comment. Thanks.